One man set the whole of Europe on fire in a decade. 70 to 85 million people died in 6 years, and just one bomb divided human history forever. This is the story of World War II, completely unadulterated, epic from cause to effect. But before watching this video, if you like this kind of in-depth analysis of history, then subscribe to the channel now and turn on the bell, because this journey is just beginning.
When a war ends, are the seeds of the next war sown? 1918, World War I ended, but peace did not come. Humiliation came. On June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles forced Germany to take full responsibility for the war. The War Guilt Clause, or Article 231, destroyed Germany's national pride. The mandatory war reparations were set at 132 billion gold marks. This is equivalent to about 550 billion US dollars today. The German economy collapsed. Inflation was so severe that people carried cartloads of money to buy a loaf of bread.
A defeated, starving, humiliated country awaits a liberator. Born on April 20th, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, Austria, Adolf Hitler was a failed artist, a corporal in World War I, but this man had fire in his throat. In 1921, he took over the leadership of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or NSDAP. His speeches were filled with magic, rage, hope, and an enemy: Jews, communists, and the traitors of November. On January 30th, 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. Within months, he had overthrown parliamentary democracy and established a dictatorship. After the death of President Hindenburg in 1934, he became Führer, combining the powers of the president and chancellor. In Italy, Benito Mussolini seized power in the 1922 Rome campaign. He was the father of fascism, a radical nationalism that gave the state supreme power and trampled on individual freedom. In 1936, Hitler-Mussolini formed the Rome-Berlin Axis. Later, when Japan joined, the Tripartite Pact was formed. On the other side of the Pacific, the Japanese Empire launched a devastating attack on China, raising slogans for Asia and the Asians. At least 200,000 people were killed in the Nanjing Massacre of 1937.
There were 3 flames at the 3 ends of the world, and no one could put them out. Did Hitler really want war, or did Britain and France fail to stop him? 1938. Hitler shows one courage after another. Reoccupation of the Rhineland, 1936. Anschluss of Austria, 1938. Demand for occupation of Sudetenland of Czechoslovakia. Britain and France accepted each demand in the interest of peace. This policy is called appeasement. But this weakness made Hitler even bolder. In March 1939, Hitler occupied the whole of Czechoslovakia in violation of the treaty. Now the Allies are shaken. September 1st, 1939, at 4:45 a.m., the German battleship Schleswig-Holstein fired the first shot at the Westerplatte fortress in Poland, and 1.5 million German troops crossed the Polish border at the same time. This
was the Blitzkrieg. Tanks, aircraft, and motorized infantry combined to tear apart the enemy at lightning speed. On September 3rd, Britain and France declared war on Germany, but no help came for Poland. On September 17th, the Soviet Union attacked from the east, according to the secret clause of the Hitler-Stalin Non-Aggression Pact, or the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. On September 27th, just 27 days later, Poland surrendered. The Poles stood in the rain against the German tanks of the cavalry. There was heroism, but no chance. On May 10, 1940, the German army struck from the west. The French believed they had broken through the Maginot Line, a huge chain of fortifications.
But German troops bypassed this line through Belgium and the Ardennes forest and attacked from behind. British and French forces were trapped at Dunkirk. From May 26th to June 4th, 338,000 soldiers were rescued by sea in Operation Dynamo. Everything from small fishing boats to warships was used. On June 22, 1940, France surrendered. Hitler signed this treaty on the same rail car where Germany surrendered in 1918. Intentional revenge. All of Europe is in Hitler's hands. Now the only obstacle is the English Channel. Hitler planned Operation Sea Lion to invade Britain. But before that, the RAF, that is, the Royal Air Force, must be destroyed. The Battle of Britain began, the first major air battle in history. The German Luftwaffe and the British RAF faced each other in the sky.
We shall fight on the beaches.
Winston Churchill gave a speech in Parliament that is immortal in history.
We shall fight in the hills. We shall
never surrender. The Blitz began with 57 nights of bombing of London, but the British did not break. October 1940, Hitler suspended the Sea Lions. Britain held out. This holding out was the first part of the war, a decisive attack on the USSR. What sowed the seeds of Hitler's downfall? June 22, 1941, Operation Barbarossa, Hitler's mistake in the Soviet Union. At 3:15 a.m., over 3 million German troops crossed the Soviet border in the largest advance in history, accompanied by 3,350 tanks, 7,200 guns, 2,000 aircraft. Hitler thought it was a rotten door that would be kicked in with one kick. He planned to defeat the Soviet Union in 3 months. At first, the German advance was incredible. In the first week, the Soviet Union lost more than 2,000 aircraft. Most were destroyed on the ground. Millions of Soviet soldiers were taken prisoner. But Russia was a vast land, and the Soviet people did not stop fighting. Winter came. The German army was trapped in -40 degrees Celsius. Weapons were not working, fuel was running out. They had to stop just 15 kilometers from Moscow. The Germans retreated from Moscow in December 1941 due to the Soviet counterattack. For the first time, Hitler's forces were defeated. In the same week, on the other side of the world, on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, at 7:48 a.m., 353 Japanese aircraft ambushed the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. In 2 hours and 45 minutes, 4 battleships were sunk, 4 were damaged, 188 aircraft were destroyed, 2,403 Americans were killed.
The next day, President Franklin D. Roosevelt announced to Congress that yesterday, December 7, 1941, is the date which will live in infamy. America entered the war, and Hitler, incredibly, declared war on America himself. This one decision sealed his fate. Stalingrad. The city was fought not only for its geographical importance, but also for its name. The city of Stalingrad was one of the bloodiest battles in history, fought from August 1942 to February 1943. The two sides suffered an estimated 2 million casualties. Soviet General Zhukov's Operation Uranus, November 1942, Soviet forces broke through the Romanian defenses and completely surrounded the German 6th Army.
Field Marshal Paulus was trapped with 300,000 German troops. On February 2, 1943, 90,000 surviving German troops surrendered. Stalingrad was the turning point on the Eastern Front. Since then, the Germans have not advanced eastward, they have only retreated. The tide of war was turning in the Pacific Ocean as well. From June 4th to 7th, 1942, the US Navy sank 4 Japanese aircraft carriers in the Battle of Midway. With the help of code breakers, America had learned the Japanese plan in advance. After this war, Japan never regained dominance in the Pacific. The Battle of Stalingrad, the turning point of the war.
The largest military campaign in history began with a lie, but the truth won. June 6, 1944. Operation Overlord, the largest naval operation in history. More than 5,000 ships, 13,000 aircraft, and 156,000 soldiers landed on the beaches of Normandy, France in one day. Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, Sword. In the first hour on Omaha Beach, American forces suffered terrible losses. Soldiers were dying in the water in front of German machine guns, but they did not stop.
The success of this operation was due to the greatest military deception, Operation Fortitude. The Allies convinced Hitler that the attack would be at Pas-de-Calais and not in Normandy. This illusion was created using fictitious armies, false radio messages, and general Patton. On August 25th, Paris was liberated. The liberation of Europe began. In December 1944, Hitler launched his last major offensive in the Ardennes. At first, the Allies retreated, but the American 101st Airborne Division in Bastogne did not surrender even after being surrounded. In response to the German commander's offer to surrender, General McAuliffe wrote only one word: nuts. In January 1945, the German attack failed.
Germany no longer had the strength to fight back. Soviet forces in the east and the Allies in the west were pressed from two sides. On April 16, 1945, Soviet Marshal Zhukov and Konev, the soldier who had been bloodied on D-Day and Normandy Beach, launched the final assault on Berlin. 2.5 million Soviet soldiers entered the city. Hitler is trapped in his bunker. The city is burning outside. He is finally sending street children and old men to fight. April 29th, Hitler marries Eva Braun. April 30th, 1945, 3:30 p.m. Adolf Hitler shoots himself in the head in the Führer's bunker in Berlin at the age of 56.
Eva Braun takes poison. Both bodies are doused with petrol and burned in the bunker garden, on Hitler's own orders. There is no grave for the man who dreamed of changing history.
I will change history. I will make Germany great again. My art is the key to unlocking our nation's destiny.
The people will follow me.
May 8th, 1945. Germany surrenders unconditionally in Europe. VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. Then came the final blow that changed the whole world. One weapon, only one, that wiped out an entire city. Can humanity cross this limit? Japan was still fighting in the Pacific. Death. American forces were advancing island by island, but the Japanese were not surrendering.
Air raiders were destroying warships with their own planes. The planned invasion of Japan could have killed an estimated 500,000 to 100,000 Allied soldiers and millions of Japanese civilians. Fearing this, America chose a different path. The secret Manhattan Project. 3 years of research, $2 billion, and the talents of the world's best scientists created an unprecedented weapon. On August 6, 1945, at 8:15 a.m., the B-29 Enola Gay dropped a uranium bomb, Little Boy, on Hiroshima. The heat of the explosion was greater than the surface of the sun. Everything within 1.6 kilometers of the epicenter of the explosion was instantly destroyed. Between 80,000 and 140,000 people died on the first day. Thousands more died from radiation in the following months. A bomb destroys a city beyond belief. Then, on August 9th, Fat Man, a plutonium bomb, was dropped on Nagasaki. Between 40,000 and 80,000 people were killed. On the same day, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan. Japanese Emperor Hirohito realized that there was no way to resist. August 15th, 1945, Emperor Hirohito's voice on the radio. The Japanese people heard his voice for the first time. The surrender was announced. September 2nd, 1945. The formal surrender was signed on the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. World War II officially ended after 6 years, 1 month, and 1 day. But did it ever end? A total of 70 to 85 million people died in World War II, which is almost 1% of the world's population at that time. 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. It was the most planned genocide in history. The Nazi war criminals were tried at the Nuremberg trials in 1945. For the first time, crimes against humanity were defined in international law. On October 24, 1945, the United Nations was established. The goal was never to have another war like this again. The freedom movement around the world became stronger. The colonies of Asia and Africa, including India, began to gain independence one after another. But peace did not come completely. The two superpowers, America and the Soviet Union, faced each other. The Cold War began. Not war, but always the fear of war. The nuclear arms race began. The world came close to nuclear annihilation several times. The
The results of the war and the lessons of the modern world are the most in the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962.
This was the complete history of World War II. If you find this video valuable, then like it and share it with your friends, because knowing history is the right of every human being.